Today, we got MLB trade deadline news, Vikings roster predictions, and fantasy football rankings. You're listening to the Game 7 podcast. Welcome to the first ever Game 7 podcast. I'm K-Rob.
I'm Tuck.
How you doing today?
I'm doing good. It's a good day to be here.
All right, let's get started talking about the MLB trade deadline. I think you and I are both Twins fans.
Yep.
We like talking about the Twins. Obviously, a good season so far. The last few weeks has kind of shown a glaring problem, and that is the bullpen.
The bullpen, yes. Just pitching in general, too. I mean, even the starters aren't giving any help to the bullpen. I mean, they're exiting game in the fourth and fifth inning instead of like the sixth and the seventh like it was earlier this year when we were on that hot streak. But
yeah, and the starters have been fine statistically throughout the year. There's no starters in baseball that are going as deep into ball games every time they go out. The issue is we don't have the bullpen to back them up when they go for a short amount of time. So I think there's no question among Twins fans that the Twins need to add to the bullpen at the deadline.
Absolutely. And so yeah, we're just going to go over a couple names of what we think are let's say dream scenarios and like who we want versus what we think will actually happen and who will end up getting.
So, what is your ideal situation? If you're the general manager of the Twins, what is the ideal situation and for what cost?
If I'm the GM of the Twins and I'm making the decisions, what I'm doing is I'm getting on the phone with the Blue Jays. I'm calling them up and saying that I'll give them damn near anything besides Kirilloff and Royce Lewis for Stroman and Ken Giles. I think that'll take care of a lot of our problems. It'll help out with the pitching at depth in our rotation. And also, if we do add a starter, we can always put one of the starters in the bullpen just for a long reliever arm. And then also, that'll give us Ken Giles, who's a veteran guy, proven guy, who's having a pretty good year. A little bit injury prone, but still just a solid guy. You know what you're going to get with him, and I think that would be the ideal situation in my mind at the deadline.
So you're saying you would not trade Royce Lewis and Alex Kirilloff?
No. I don't think that they would ask for those two guys for Stroman and Ken Giles. I don't think that the asking price should be that high. And if it is that high, I think we can also explore our options around the league. I mean, there are a good amount of relievers and even starters that are available. So I think we would at least explore other options before we just say, okay, here's our two best prospects.
Yeah, and I think teams understand that we're not going to be too eager to trade those two guys. But what they're going for is Trevor Larnach because he just got to Double-A. He's been great in pro ball, and they see that we have a very deep outfield, very young outfield, both in the minor leagues and at the major league level. So they're targeting him as a guy that they could trade for. Would you be willing to trade him?
I would. I just, like I said, I mean, I just don't want any big name guys that are possible like perennial all-stars at the major league level. I just don't want to give that up for what would be a rental. How many years would we have those two guys on a roster? What's the team control situation like?
I'm not sure about Ken Giles. Marcus Stroman's through 2021. So that's a lot of team control.
Okay, that is team control. I know teams aren't necessarily giddy to just give away team control at the deadline, but so yeah, I think I would be willing to give away somebody like that. It's just it's tough for me, and I feel like a lot of Twins fans, to let go of our big name prospects that we've had in the system for a while that we've all been excited to see at the major league level at some point. I feel like it'd be tough to just let them go for, even if it's not a rental, just like a 1 or 2 year, mid-tier starter and bullpen guy.
You know what? You're right. They aren't, and that's the thing is you have to analyze who you're willing to trade. So Marcus Stroman, for those of you that don't know, he's got a 2.96 ERA this year. He's got plenty of team control, which makes him very attractive. He also has been improving, which a lot of people in deadline deals aren't improving. That's why they're able to be traded. So he's been great his entire career when he's healthy. When he's not healthy, he's struggled a little bit. So the challenge with him is going to be staying healthy. This year, he's got a 3.52 FIP, which I know you don't like.
It's not a real stat.
It is a real stat.
No, and these analytics just don't mean anything.
That's so not true. I'm gonna explain this in a way that
Please.
that numbnuts over here can understand.
Please do, because the analytics, the FIP. He's trying to calculate luck.
No, that's not how it goes. Okay.
Oh, goodness.
Answer this question for me. Do the Mets have a good defense?
No.
They have a terrible defense, right?
Yeah, they have a terrible team.
And so, yeah.
Team.
So what this stat is showing is how if your defense has helped you or if it has held you back. And so, do you think that Noah Syndergaard is a good pitcher?
Yes.
Then why does he have a 4.33 ERA this year?
Okay, understandable.
Okay, his FIP is 3.64, which is an entire run almost better.
Okay, so what is FIP then?
It's feeling independent of pitching. So if players aren't making plays that league average players would, your FIP is going to be affected by that.
See,
he has had terrible defense, which has led to a ballooning ERA, and he's still declined a little bit, but he's not 4.33 bad.
Yeah, I know he's not that bad, but it's just like I have a hard time because I don't think it's all just I don't even know where I'm going. I just don't like the analytics. It's just it doesn't.
It's just showing you that when you look to trade Noah Syndergaard, he's not going to be valued as a 4.33 ERA guy because he's not. Because he's had terrible defense, he's had a down year, and he hasn't been pitching great in these last.
Okay, so what do you think in that situation if the Twins aren't going to look at him as a 4.3 whatever guy? Well, what do you think if the Mets are also going to look at him as a 3 point, mid 3 guy? Well, what are the Mets going to ask for him then?
The Mets are probably going to ask for Keeler or Lewis.
See, then I don't want to do that. I don't think he is valuable enough.
So
to give
here's my ideal situation. I know you're gonna disagree with me. I think my ideal situation is trading the Mets for Noah Syndergaard and team control through 2021.
I understand the team control, but what's gonna happen to our bullpen? Our bullpen still sucks.
Okay, so this is what happens. Ideal situation: we trade for Noah Syndergaard and we trade for either Will Smith or Ken Giles.
So okay.
So then we push Martin Perez, who has had bullpen success in the past, down to a bullpen role because his cutter plays in the bullpen.
It does. But here, okay, so if you're saying that we give up, let's just say Kirilloff for Syndergaard and then a couple other low-level prospects, and then we want to go back out into the market within the next couple days and try to grab a reliever, what do you think they're going to ask since we don't have a Kirilloff to offer them anymore, especially for a Will Smith?
Will Smith is not going to take Keeler off for Lewis.
What do you think he's going to take, then?
I don't know.
What level of prospect?
I'd say a mid to upper tier prospect. He is a very good pitcher, but he's also a bullpen pitcher who pitches 1 inning a game.
But does he have team control? That's also a big part.
Will Smith, I believe, is a rental, but don't quote me on that. But
I think he has a team option for next year, I believe.
But bullpen, regardless, bullpen arms, they're replaceable.
Yeah, they are. I mean, that's been proven for like the last 5 to 10 years in the MLB that bullpen arms are just very replaceable.
They are. We just don't have any right now.
Yeah.
We would need off-season free agency to address that, which for some reason we didn't. Our only signing last off-season is not on the team anymore. Blake Parker, he's gone. Yeah. He's DFA'd. So
yeah. But here's the thing. So with getting Will Smith, so say in your scenario we already got Syndergaard and we get Will Smith. So we have Will Smith and we have Taylor Rogers, who I think in this last year and going back to last year has established himself as a top 10 guy out of the bullpen in the MLB. And because he's learned how to get righties out, which is very important come playoff time when you're facing the right-handed dominant lineups of the Yankees and the Astros. But we still don't have, if we acquire Will Smith, we still don't have that righty guy that we can send in the 7th or 8th inning to get the middle of the Yankees or Astros lineup out. We're just not addressing that part.
The right-handed part.
The right-handed part.
That's why I think if it were me, I would rather get Ken Giles.
Okay.
I think Ken Giles is the ideal scenario. 1.59 ERA this year. He's just been lights out.
Yeah, I mean, he has injury problems, but he's been healthy of late, and really all we need him for is this run. I mean, I feel like he is a rental, isn't he?
I think so.
Yeah. So I mean, we agree on that one. I think Ken Giles is should be the number one essential target, because in my mind, I view getting a starting pitcher at this trade deadline as kind of a luxury. If we can get one for a decent price, then that's fantastic. But if we can't, I don't think that's the end of the world, and I don't think that's going to make or break our season. But I think what will make or break our season is going to be getting somebody in the bullpen. Preferably a righty. I wouldn't be mad if we got Will Smith, just because he's the best available. Yeah, in my opinion, he's the best available guy at the deadline out of the bullpen. So I wouldn't be mad, but I just don't think in terms of fit, he's necessarily the best fit in our bullpen compared to a Ken Giles.
You're right, but it's also, you have to look at the whole picture, and that if we have Will Smith, our bullpen's going to be better.
It will be.
And righty or lefty, he's going to get outs. He's not going to be the perfect fit necessarily, but our bullpen's just so bad right now that
it's awful. I mean, if any of you guys watched the Yankees series against the Twins, I do want to say that game 2, though, we're going into extra innings with Aaron Hicks diving catch. That was the best, if not one of the best baseball games I think I've ever seen in my life. That was so entertaining, especially if you like offense. That was such a great game, and honestly, it makes me nervous/scared to see that play out in a 5 or 7 game series, because it just, you don't know what could happen. I mean, how many lead changes were there in, like, from the 8th inning to the 10th? Like 4 or 5 lead changes.
It was ridiculous. It was a perfect baseball game, and also the most frustrating baseball game I've ever watched.
If you're a Twins fan, absolutely.
Yeah, it was awful.
Because you know the Twins historically just can't beat the Yankees. They just can't do it. The Yankees are our kryptonite.
The Yankees got some help from the umpires, and
yeah, they did.
What's
so
typical. Typical.
What's new with that?
Yeah,
Nothing.
yeah.
No breaking news there.
So we're running out of time on this segment, but before we move on, I'd like to mention one other arm that the Twins have been linked to, and that's Daniel Hudson from the Blue Jays. Over his last 18 games, he has a 1.27 ERA as of a couple days ago. The Twins have been linked to him. He might be in a package deal with Marcus Stroman and Ken Giles, or either or.
I would like that.
The only issue that I have with him is that FIP. I know you don't like it, but this suggests a major regression.
Okay. All right. But so here's the question I have with FIP. So are the Blue Jays good at defense?
Yes.
No.
Yeah, they are.
Okay. All right. Whatever. They are, right? But then if you come from the Blue Jays and come to the Twins with one of the best fielding outfields, in my opinion, in baseball, and also a decent infield. I mean, nothing special, but a league average, if not above average, infield is defending wise. Like, don't you think that the FIP wouldn't really affect that, because he's coming from a good defense to a good defense?
Yeah, and that's part of the equation, but that is a huge difference.
What is it?
His ERA over the entire year is about 2.5, 2.8 range. 4.3 FIP is still a very, very big gap. So if you look at, for example, Marcus Stroman, he has a 2.96 ERA and a 3.52 FIP.
Okay.
That's something where I'd say, okay, he's coming to a good defense, and he's probably not going to have that big of a regression. But that big of a regression in that stat worries me.
Yeah.
Now, he is an upgrade over anybody we have out in the pen right now, except for Taylor Rogers.
Exactly.
So I'm not gonna.
And that's kind of my thing too. Like, when we get these guys, I mean, as long as they're an upgrade, what it'll do is it'll push the Tyler Duffys, the Trevor Mays down in the bullpen. So their role will be, instead of handling the 7th and 8th inning against a good team like the Yankees and blowing it then, what they can do is they can kind of bridge the gap from the starter. If they get pulled in the 4th or 5th inning, they can bridge the gap from the starter to the actual shutdown guys in the bullpen. They can just kind of go in there for not as intensive situations, and I feel like they could have a better chance to thrive in that situation versus going in there in the 8th, or even 9th inning when the whole stadium's on their feet and just a pressure-packed situation. I feel like the relievers that we have now would benefit more or would benefit from being pushed earlier into games.
Yeah, I just don't think that we need to have Tyler Duffy in high leverage situations. I agree with you.
Exactly.
I think the one thing that we can agree on is we need to get a couple of bullpen arms.
Yes.
We just need to. And if the Twins don't do that, I'm going to be incredibly frustrated, and you're going to hear it on this podcast.
And just surprised, because you are definitely going to hear it on this podcast. But I would just be surprised, because I've been a big fan of everything the management has done since they've gotten here.
I haven't been a big fan of everything.
Not everything. You're right.
But over a big picture, okay.
Yeah, because look where we are now compared to last year. Even everything from the Paul Molitor firing, which I was not on board with at first, but then I go, who the hell's Baldelli? Who is this guy?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden he shows up here and he just has this demeanor about him, and he's cool, calm, collected, and leads our team to I think 62-40 record, something in that range as of now. So it's been impressive, and I have trust in them to get something done before the Wednesday deadline.
And I won't have trust after. And if I were Jim Pohlad, I'd fire him if they don't get something done by next week.
Exactly.
All right, let's move on and talk about the NFL. Okay, so if you haven't gathered from this podcast so far, we are Minnesota sports fans.
We are. Yes,
we
indeed.
love the Twins. We love the Vikings. We love the Wild. Kind of love the Wolves.
Yeah, the Wolves are hit or miss.
I'll watch a game, but
yeah, unless they're doing something good, which they never are, then I'm just not really.
Yeah, exactly. So we're gonna go ahead and talk about the Vikings for this next segment a little bit. Discuss what's going on with training camp and all that.
Yep. So what we're gonna do in this segment, we're gonna go over the Vikings schedule. We're gonna try to predict their record, see what games we got on schedule for this year, and then also the Vikings did just report to training camp today on Friday the 26th, the first mandatory day that everybody was in camp, and so we're gonna talk a little bit about some storylines in Vikings camp, some players we think are gonna break out, some rookies and stuff like that, but. For now, we'll just we'll go over the Vikings schedule here. All right, so we got the season opener at home against the Atlanta Falcons. I think the Falcons had a down year last year, but I think that the Vikings will get off to a hot start, and I think they can take that first game at home behind a most likely sold out U.S. Bank.
Yeah, I agree. The Falcons, I think they had a down year, and they're not going to repeat that. And I also have some concerns with Vikings on week 1. I don't like the Vikings playing on week 1. Mm-hmm. I feel like they always lose. I don't know if there's. I haven't looked at the games in the last few years, but I always just feel like they lose. But I think that they get it done, especially at home against the Falcons.
Yep. And so now we move to week 2 at Lambeau. Which I think is kind of an advantage in our schedule to be able to go to Lambeau early in the year when it's not snowing, it's not negative 30, it's nothing crazy like that. But I don't see the Vikings pulling this one out at Lambeau. I hate the Packers. Don't get me wrong, I hate the Packers, but they know how to play football at Lambeau, and I think that the Vikings take an L on this one.
You're wrong. You're wrong. The Vikings are winning this game. Hands down.
I hope so.
They're a better team than the Packers, and they're going to start off 2-0.
They are a better team than the Packers, but that doesn't always mean the Vikings like to beat the Packers, because it's the same thing with the Twins and the Yankees.
That's so
They
false.
forget how to play the sport.
That's so
when
false.
when they play each other.
Look at the record in the past few years.
I will. That's fine. But
since like 2015, they've beat us like once.
Trust me. I hope you're right. I really do, because I don't.
Well, I am right.
There's
so
nothing
just
I
go
hate
ahead
more than hearing Packers fans come up to me and just talk. I just don't even like them to talk. So yeah. I hope you're right. But then we move on to week 3 against the Oakland Raiders at home. They are improved. They really did a lot. They did everything they could to improve their offense and their defense. Drafted a couple guys pretty high, and then got AB obviously in via that trade. And so yeah, I think this is at home. Like I said, I think the Vikings pull this one out.
I agree. I don't think the Raiders will be able to come into US Bank Stadium and play with the Vikings. I got the Vikings starting out 3-0.
Okay, yeah, I have the Vikings 2-1 as of now, and then we go to Soldier Field, and again, it's it's earlier in the year, so we don't have to go to Soldier Field either when it's negative 30, like I had mentioned. But
I think that's a big schedule advantage for the Vikings this year.
I really
playing
do.
the Bears and the Packers on the road early in the year and being able to play them at home later.
Absolutely, I think that is a huge advantage, and but I hate to say it, I don't see the Vikings pulling this one out either against the Bears. Like I said, I hope they go undefeated. I really do, but I'm trying to be realistic, and I don't think they pull it out at Soldier Field.
You're right. I think that the Vikings drop this one to the Bears, and I don't think that this is going to be telling of the whole season because I think the Vikings are also a better team than the Bears. And that's a hot take, I know, and I'm extremely biased. But I think the Bears played above what their actual talent level is, especially Mitch Trubisky. So we'll have to see. I think the Bears are going to beat the Vikings in Week 4, and I have the Vikings at 3-1.
Yeah, I have the Vikings at 2-2 going into Week 5 at New York Giants, which, in my opinion, they're just a train wreck of a franchise. I mean, David Gettleman just has no clue what he's doing, in my opinion. Like Daniel Jones, 6th overall or 8th overall, whatever it was. Like what?
I have told you this before about the Daniel Jones, and I agree. I don't think looking at the numbers, looking at the stats, and
looking at the
film
tape,
and the film. He does not look great.
He doesn't pass the eye test.
He does not pass the eye test.
He does not.
But there is plenty of NFL quarterbacks that didn't pass the eye test in college.
That's fair.
But
not a whole lot of them. I would argue that almost every single quarterback that has been taken in the first round has passed the eye test, especially top 10.
In the first round, yeah.
Especially top 10.
But people that get slept on have a trend of playing good. So the verdict for me is going to be out. I'm not going to judge him right now. I'm not going to judge him based on his Madden rating. I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna say that I'll give Daniel Jones the benefit of the doubt, and until he shows me he's a terrible quarterback, then I'll tell you he's a terrible quarterback.
Okay. So here's a question. So this is Week 5. At New York Giants. I think they win this game, but do you think that Daniel Jones will be playing by Week 5?
That's a tough question. I don't think he will be.
I don't necessarily think he will be, barring an injury from Eli or just honestly just flat out sucking. I mean, I could see that too without some of his top weapons. I mean, he does have Saquon, but Odell's gone. And Sterling Shepard actually just got injured earlier today. So I don't know. That'll be an interesting storyline to watch because I think, in my opinion, it would be fun to watch Daniel Jones and to see what he has on that Week 5 game.
Yeah, and you'll hear about it on this podcast, no doubt.
Yep. And so we move to Week 6 here.
I think we both agree that's going to be a win.
Yes. I hope
we don't have a repeat of the Bills.
Of the Bills week last year, yeah. So we both agree that we beat the Giants Week 5.
So I got them at 4-1. You have them at 3-2.
3-2. Yep. And then so we finally got the Eagles at home this year, Week 6. We got the Eagles at home, and I think the Vikings can pull this one out. I think that this is going to be a packed and just angry crowd. I mean, this crowd's going to be absolutely crazy at US Bank. I think this will be a great game to go to. I think that it'll be a close one, but I think the Vikings will pull this one out.
I'm on the other side of this. The Vikings are going to lose this game. I think it'll be close. I think they're going to lose by a field goal.
Okay, I can see that. And the main reason which picked me to have the Vikings win this game is because it is at noon Central Time, which means it's not a primetime game, which means Kirk Cousins is actually going to show up to the football game, and he's actually going to remember how to play the game of football. That's why I think the Vikings win this game, because Kirk Cousins, we all know, he can't play in the primetime. He just can't do it.
All right, what about the Rams last year in Thursday Night Football?
What was the score of that game?
We lost.
Yeah, we lost. That's all I care about.
He put up 35 points.
He did, but we lost. Because the Rams, they put up...
Because of our defense.
Okay, that's fine. We still lost the game. I want to see him win a primetime game.
Okay.
All right, so we moved to Week 7 at the Lions. I think we can all agree that should be a pretty easy victory.
We got Matt Stafford on the other side of the ball at home. He has absolutely nobody normal. He doesn't have a running back, so Vikings are gonna win. I don't think it will be a particular blowout, but it's not gonna be ever in doubt.
Yeah. Okay, so then we move to a Thursday night game on Week 8 against the Washington Redskins, which I think is going to be a fun game to watch because they do have Haskins, the rookie out of Ohio State, who I think it was underrated going into the draft. I mean, I know it was pretty much between him and Kyler Murray, but going into the draft as the 1 and 2 quarterbacks, but then the Giants kind of threw a curveball in there and picked Daniel Jones in the top 10. But I think he's a good player. I think he'll get adapted to the NFL quickly. It'll be a really fun primetime game to watch, but I think the Vikings will end up pulling that one out.
I think the Vikings are going to win that football game at home, and I don't think it will be very close.
Yeah. Okay, so, yeah, and it is at home, so that's a big advantage for us. But now we move into the second half of the season.
Which is just brutal.
It is brutal, and I have them right now at 6-2.
I have them at 6-2, I believe, too.
Okay, so we both have them, the Vikings at 6-2 on the first half of the season. So now we just move into the pressure cooker. It gets tough. We got at week 9 we got Kansas City at Arrowhead, which I don't see the Vikings pulling this one out at Arrowhead against Patrick Mahomes. I just don't see it.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the Vikings will make it close. I think that it will be not a blowout or anything, but I just don't see how the Vikings can compete top down against the Kansas City Chiefs, especially in the regular season.
Yep. And, I mean, we do – I can see how we would match up with our good defense and everything against Patrick Mahomes and the just electrifying offense, but I don't think we have the secondary depth to just run with Kansas City, and I don't think we have the high-scoring offense to get in a shootout with Kansas City. So, yeah. I think we dropped that one at Arrowhead. So now we got them at 6-3.
Both 6-3, yeah.
Going into week 10, so we play the Cowboys at AT&T Stadium. This is also a tough one. I think the Vikings drop this one at Dallas.
You have a tendency to overrate the Dallas Cowboys. I don't know why.
I hate the Cowboys.
But you think they're so good. I mean, they have a quarterback that barely even knows what a pass is, a forward pass is in football.
But I don't like Dak Prescott. I don't even like Zeke Elliott that much. But
Zeke carries them. When your running back carries you.
Yeah, they do.
You're not great.
I would argue that offensive line carries the whole team.
Okay,
because
you're right.
They are, in my opinion, the best offensive line in football at the moment. And going into AT&T Stadium, I think it's going to be a tough one.
Yeah. I think that the Vikings are going to win this game.
You have them winning?
I do. I think that the Vikings can stop the Cowboys' running game, and I don't think Dak Prescott can do anything about it.
Okay, so I have the Vikings at 6-4 going into Week 11.
I have them at 7-3.
Okay, so now we go into Week 11. We got the Denver Broncos at home. I think it'll be a good football game, but I think the Vikings will pull this one out at home against the Broncos, who just aren't that great of a team, especially with Joe Flacco leading at the helm. I just don't think he's anything special. I think Vikings pull this one out.
Week 11 is getting to the point in the season when Joe Flacco decides he doesn't remember how to play football. So I think the Vikings are going to win this football game.
Okay, so we got I got them at 7-4 going into the Week 12 bye.
I have them at 8-3.
All right, and then so Week 12 we got a bye, which is nice to have it close to the middle of the season. And then we go Week 13 at Seattle, primetime game Monday night. I don't even think we have a chance. I mean, Kirk Cousins playing in primetime on a Monday night, it's not gonna go well. At CenturyLink Field, not gonna go well. I don't think it's necessarily a blowout. I think we probably lose by 2 possessions.
I agree. I think that it's going to be the typical Vikings versus Seahawks matchup. Mm-hmm. Russ running around all over the place and winning 17-3.
Yep. So what do you got them at now?
I have them at 7
8 and 5.
I have them at 8-4. I think
8-4. Okay, then I would do 7-5. Okay, so then we got the Detroit Lions at home. Not too much to talk about, I think, again, especially at home this time.
Late in the season.
Late in the season when the Lions are most likely going to be out of it, and at most they're going to be playing spoiler at this point, trying to knock off one of the other teams in the division, which could be dangerous, could be a trap game for the Vikings. But I think and I hope that Mike Zimmer will have the boys ready to go for this one. I think they'll get a win.
I agree. I think it's going to be a win for the Vikings.
We do got to watch out though. That could be a trap game. We could get in trouble there.
The Lions love playing well at US Bank Stadium.
Yeah, they do for some reason. So, but then we go all the way out to Los Angeles to play the Chargers. They're a really good team. I mean, they had a good year last year. Phillip Rivers just for some reason doesn't know how to play in the playoffs. But I think we'll drop that one to the Chargers in Los Angeles.
I think that the Vikings are gonna lose this football game. I think it'll be a close game, but on the road, time zone change is just gonna be a tough place and environment to win.
Yeah, absolutely. And then so I think this is the best part of the schedule. We got extremely lucky here. So weeks 16 and 17, we play the Packers and the Bears respectively, both at home. This is going to make or break, I think, all three of these teams' season. It's going to mean so much to the Packers, the Bears, and the Vikings because I think that it's going to be a three-team race in the North. I think it's going to be really close going into these last 2 weeks. And the fact that we all play each other, or that the Vikings play Green Bay and Chicago in the last 2 weeks could absolutely make or break our season. But with that being said, Week 16, primetime game at US Bank against the Packers. I think Kirk kind of breaks a trend here, and he goes out and he wins himself a primetime game, a big game against the Packers late in the season.
I got the Vikings winning this game, and I don't know if it'll particularly be close.
Okay, I hope not. But, all right, so then we go, like I said, to the Bears Week 17, again at US Bank. I want to say we're going to win this game. I really do, because I think for the Vikings this game could mean, just like last year, this game could mean getting in or not getting into the playoffs. But I don't think we pull it out. I don't think we pull it out again.
I think the Vikings will lose this game, but I want to emphasize. I can't emphasize this enough. I think the Vikings are a better team than the Bears.
I think they have potential to be a better team than the Bears. At this moment, I do not see us being a better team than the Bears, just because, in my opinion, Kirk Cousins hasn't showed me anything. And I'm willing to give him this next year to show me something. But off of last year, he did not show me anything to give me faith that he can win this game.
Yeah, but I mean, we'll have to see.
We'll have to see, and it'll be a really fun season to watch for the Vikings. I feel like we'll be right in the hunt for a playoff race, and it's going to come down to the last 2 or 3 weeks of the season, so it'll be a lot of fun. But all right, so now switching gears into training camp. Like I said, the Vikings reported training camp Friday the 26th, and so we just kind of want to go over a couple players that we're interested in watching and a couple fun storylines that we're going to be watching throughout the training camp. And I think my number one guy to watch in camp is Drew Samia, who we picked in the later rounds. I think 4th or 5th round, something like that. And he, in my mind, I'm a big Oklahoma fan and Baker Mayfield fan, if you didn't know. And so I watched a lot of this guy in college. I saw a lot of him. And he's got a mean streak to him. He got kicked out, I think, 2 or 3 games for fighting or something. So he's got a little mean streak to him, which I think will be a lot of fun to watch, give us a little attitude up front. And he also was a part of the Oklahoma offensive line, obviously, who won the Joe Moore Trophy Award, which is awarded to the best offensive line group in the country, which he was a big part of. And then I think he could compete for a starting guard spot out of camp. I think if he impresses, he could surprise some people and get the starting guard spot out of camp because we need offensive line help. Just as bad as the Twins need bullpen help, the Vikings need offensive line help, and I think Drew Samia would be a big part of that.
Speaking of offensive line help, my player to watch throughout camp is Garrett Bradbury, the number 1 pick. And the reason is because I think he has the potential to be a really good player in the NFL. But as a rookie, you never know.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to see how he reacts when he plays bigger, faster people.
Exactly.
He's got to be a leader. He's got to learn how to work with Kirk Cousins.
Exactly, because the center is the leader of the offensive line. I mean, they're the ones making the calls. They're the one telling people what to do.
And he seems like a quieter guy, so he's got to step up and lead the offensive line.
Yep.
I agree with you. I think Drew Samia bringing attitude to an offensive line that desperately needs it would be great if he could show up and impress the coaches enough to at least get some looks in the preseason.
Exactly.
And figure out if he could be an asset on that offensive line.
Exactly, because I mean, we all know that offensive line, they're one of the most volatile positions to get injured throughout the season. So even if Drew Samia doesn't impress enough to like get a starting spot right out of camp, I think as soon as somebody on the offensive line goes down, there will be a place for him on the line. So I think that will be a big story to watch. But then also another one story that just kind of broke a couple days ago here was Holton Hill. It came out that he was suspended for 4 extra games for marijuana. He failed the drug test, and I say 4 extra games because before that he failed that drug test. He was already suspended for 4 games for PEDs, but then they gave him another random drug test, and he failed that one. So there is a dilemma there. I mean, there is definitely an open spot at corner now. I mean, we're running a little low. I know recently the Vikings have worked out Orlando Scandrick, who used to play on the Cowboys, and then also Maurice Claiborne too, who was on the Jets last year. So I think that'll be an interesting story to watch. See if we sign anybody, which I think we probably will have to. If we sign anybody, who they are and how they performing.
So my players to watch, and my favorite storyline throughout camp for the Vikings is going to be the quarterback situation. I think you agreed with me.
Yep.
It's going to be interesting. I think that you're kind of an idiot when it comes to this situation. I don't think you know what you're talking about because you have Jake Browning showing his face is going to be the number 2 quarterback, and I think we were in agreement that 2 guys are going to make the roster.
Yeah, I don't think there's any reason for us to roster 3 guys right out of camp because we have a practice squad too, which we'll probably have a practice squad quarterback on. He'll be in and around the team. So if anybody does go down, we can always call that guy up. And I just don't think that we need to waste a precious roster spot on a 3rd quarterback.
I think we agree. Where we don't agree is who that guy's going to be.
Exactly, because in my opinion, I got Jake Browning taking the spot. I think he's a little bit of a breakout guy. I mean, he was undrafted free agent, but he did play all 4 years. He started all 4 years at Washington, which was a top 15 Power 5 school for almost all 4 of those years.
And he looked completely outmatched in any big game.
Okay, so you're gonna sit up here and you're gonna tell me that Jake Browning looked outmatched when he had 4 years in a pro style offense. Threw for 12,000
pro style.
Yes, pro style.
That was not a pro style.
Go back
offense.
and watch the tape.
I'm gonna watch the tape.
You go back and you watch it.
It was a spread offense.
Okay, either way, this man threw for 12,000 yards and 94 touchdowns, which are both school records. No other quarterback in Washington Huskies history has even thrown over 10,000 yards, and Jake Browning had 2,000. And the next closest in terms of touchdowns was 74, and Jake Browning has 94 touchdowns. And he also had 16 rushing touchdowns throughout his time, so I do not think that I don't think he's just like a sitting duck back there. He has some mobility. He's not going to be a guy to run out of the pocket and make big plays. But I think if you have a guy that, if in your backup quarterback, if you want a guy that's going to sit back there, stand tall and make a throw across the middle or in the flats and just be able to keep moving the offense down the field, I think he's your guy. He's not going to beat you deep. He's not going to just gunsling all over the field. But he will sit back there, and I think he can give you good yards. He knows how to play fake. He knows everything about a pro style offense because he did run a pro style offense in college.
But so all I hear about is big games from Kirk Cousins, and so Kirk Cousins produces in the National Football League, and Jake Browning produces in the Pac-12.
Yes,
which I think we agree is the worst league.
Okay, Power 5, yeah.
And then he gets to a big game. The worst Power 5 team or Power 5 league. He gets to a big game and he can't play. Okay. And then you come here and you start telling me the stats that everybody uses against Kirk Cousins, saying that he gets stats and he doesn't perform in big games.
Yeah.
So which is it?
But what I'm saying here,
You bring
is,
yards and
'cause-
touchdowns.
okay,
I don't
all right.
care about that. He's
Okay,
in
but
college football. That's
the-
what it's for. Spread offense.
This is what I'm getting at with Kirk Cousins, and this is why I'm so high on him. How much money are we paying the man? We are paying him an ungodly amount of money. Too much damn money. But
What's the alternative?
The alternative, there's a lot. We're not getting into that right now because that could be a whole separate
No,
podcast.
we're getting
on
into this right now.
No, that could be a whole separate podcast that would take 3.5 hours.
Because the way I look at it,
Well, how do you look at it?
I look at it like league average quarterbacks are hard to find in the NFL.
Yeah, but I don't think you need to pay league average quarterbacks the maximum amount.
To sign a free agent, you do. Unless you draft somebody, you do need to pay a free agent that was Kirk Cousins' age.
Mm-hmm. What happened to Keenum?
With his production. Where is he right now?
Is Keenum a league average quarterback? Was
No.
he last year? Was he last year for the Denver
a
Broncos?
little below average.
Okay. What was Kirk? A little below or a little above average?
Yeah.
Okay, but we paid him a lot above average to be a little above average quarterback.
For one season with zero offensive line.
Yeah. I just don't. I mean, I think our offensive line's improved. Do I think our offensive line is going to be able to stand there and give Kirk Cousins 4 seconds on every play?
He doesn't need 4 seconds. He just needs 2.
Okay, but anyways, we're getting off topic because I was talking about Jake Browning and how he's going to be the backup quarterback going into the year because
He's not though, because you're saying
Okay,
we're
but
going to
this
judge
is-
Kirk Cousins by this.
Okay,
Well, we're
but
gonna-
we can judge Kirk Cousins by a big game, but Kirk Cousins is the starting quarterback and he's getting paid a lot of money. But Jake Browning, but Jake Browning he's competing for a backup role. How many backup quarterbacks in the NFL can play in big games? That's not like the first thing. The criteria is different, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, but you're comparing apples to oranges. He played in the Pac-12, not the National Football League.
It don't
so
matter.
if he can be average in the Pac-12, what makes you think he's going to be average in the National Football League?
He wasn't average. He set all these records. How do you throw for 12,000 yards and 94 touchdowns in 4 years and you're just an average Pac-12 quarterback?
Look at how many yards Case Keenum threw for in
Oh
college.
well, okay, that yeah, but that's not even Power 5.
16,000?
Yeah, but that's not even Power 5.
Still college football.
Okay, it is, but that's
Pac-12 is barely Power 5.
Yeah, but it is Power 5. I think that Jake Browning is a good, suitable number 2, and honestly, I think he could potentially be the backup coming out of camp. But what I think is the decision more likely to happen is he's probably going to be the scout team guy or practice squad guy, and he's probably just going to be kept around in the organization, but not on the roster. Because, like I said, we don't want to keep 3 quarterbacks around.
Yeah, so my thoughts on this is I think Jake Browning's not even in the running right now. I think it's Kyle Slaughter, who's probably the same ability level, but he's also been in the system for a couple of years, understanding it, learning from it.
Okay.
And Sean Mannion, I think he'll be the backup quarterback at the end of the day.
I
I think
think
Kyle
so,
Slaughter
too.
can challenge it, but I think Sean Mannion will be.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, he's had experience. And these days in the NFL, if you've even had like a cup of coffee with Sean McVay, everybody wants you on the team and they want to know everything there is to know about Sean McVay. And he was the backup quarterback for the Rams last year, so I think that's a valuable asset for him.
Yeah, I agree with that.
All
We got to
right.
move on
So now-
to talk about the NFL storylines a little bit here.
Yep. So just getting a bigger scope on things, going more into like the NFL as a whole instead of just the Vikings. So we wanted to talk about our favorite storylines going into the season. I mean, the NFL always has a bunch of storylines headed into the first couple weeks in preseason and training camp and everything. So I think my favorite and probably one of the most popular is the Browns. The Browns going into this season are going to be an absolute thrill to watch. I mean, everybody knows they got Odell, but they also got Olivier Vernon from the Giants as well before the Odell trade. They pair him up with Myles Garrett, who is, I think, in the process of taking that next step to be an absolute force on the defensive line. I think it's just going to be a fun team to watch. I mean, I know some people have them going Super Bowl and stuff like that, which is a little outlandish just because these guys haven't played together yet, not everybody. So And they have they have Freddie Kitchens, a brand new head coach. So I'm not going to sit up here and say they're going to the Super Bowl, but I think they're going to be an absolute thrill to watch throughout the year. It's going to be so fun to keep up with what's going on with Odell, Baker, and Jarvis Landry. And even Kareem Hunt comes back in the second half of the season, which I think is going to be amazing.
My favorite storyline is going to be watching Patrick Mahomes. He was absolutely incredible to watch last year. I personally think that there's a good chance of regression because I don't think somebody can maintain that level of production.
Yeah, it's tough to do that for multiple years.
But I think it will be interesting to watch. I think he's an incredible player to watch, and I'm excited to see how he follows up his MVP season.
Yeah, that'll be fun to watch. And also something that I wanted to talk about real quickly that we're both kind of wondering about is how this reviewable pass interference is going to play out this year. Everybody knows after the disaster in the Saints-Rams game in the NFC Championship last year that they've recently made pass interference reviewable, and I was just wondering how you think that's going to play out this year.
I think it depends on how they implement it. If they implement it like a normal review, it's going to be awful because every single play is going to be reviewed.
Exactly.
If they implement it in the way that they have somebody standing by watching the game right after the pass interference, because you can pretty clearly see it on TV. It's just harder in real time.
Exactly.
They're sitting there and they can have a decision within a couple minutes that they just send down to the refs when they believe they made a mistake without like an official review.
Exactly.
Where if they have a fifth ref or whatever up in the booth saying, okay, that you got that wrong.
Yeah,
switch
you guys
that
need to look at
right
that,
away,
yeah.
and they only have until the next snap to make the decision. If they implement it that way, I'm all in. But I don't want to sit here and watch another 9-hour NFL game because they take a million reviews.
And that's the biggest thing is just getting it right. But here's the thing where I could potentially have a problem with it. And like he said, it all depends on how they implement it. But what I don't want to see is late in a game, late in a big situation or even playoff game, and let's say it's third and 12. It's a third and long, and they just send somebody deep. And he just tries to draw pass interference, and that's the only thing he's trying to do. He's not trying to go catch the ball or anything. I feel like that's gonna water it down. That's not the point of what they're trying to do. They're just trying to get the calls right, and I don't want to see people just taking advantage of it, which is inevitable depending on how they implement it. So I don't know. It'll be interesting. I just hope they can get it right.
Yeah, I agree. So now we're gonna move on, talk a little bit about fantasy football. And you're going to hear a lot about this year.
Yeah.
Riley and I are in the same league, and I always have a better team than him, and he's a little bit rattled about that.
That's just not
usually.
true. That's just not true.
So we're going to be having lots of heated debates on this throughout the year.
Yes, we will. We'll keep you updated on the standings of the league, and we'll bring you some special podcasts when it's time for me and Kyle to face off in the fantasy league. That'll be a fun time. But yeah, so we just wanted to kind of go over it real quickly. It's still a little bit out before most of these drafts will be happening in the fantasy leagues. But
we just wanted to get it started with talking about it and some early thoughts and predictions here.
Exactly.
Starting with right now, before camp, before any injuries or anything like that, who would you take with your number one pick?
So if I somehow was gifted the number one pick in my league, I think I would take, whether it's PPR or not, I would take Alvin Kamara. I think him, the combination of running the football and catching the football. Obviously in PPR leagues that's valued higher as catching the football, but I think paired with Drew Brees still and just a solid all around team around him too. I think they're really going to feed off that running game, and he also he gets goal line carries even though he's not the biggest guy. Now that Ingram's gone. He does get goal line carries. He will get more goal line carries. I think he's ranked 4th right now in the ESPN rankings. But I think Alvin Kamara would be my personal number one overall pick.
I don't think that's a good pick, and I'm going to tell you the correct pick. Saquon Barkley is the correct pick for the number one. I think it's pretty cliche, but he is very, very productive, and he also plays on a team where they have nobody else to go to.
That is true. That is a big advantage that he has. They literally have no other option on offense. I mean, he's going to be their offense. So I think that could work out. I just don't know how their offensive line is. I don't know who's going to be getting him the ball in the passing game because who even knows if Eli Manning or Daniel Jones can even throw the ball in the flat to him. So I don't know that
You can throw it in a flat.
I would
Fine.
hope so. I would hope so. But I don't know. I don't know how that's going to play out. I mean, the Giants. I try to stay away from picking guys on shitty teams just because I don't want to deal with it. The team around them isn't good, and I just think that Alvin Kamara would be a better pick in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, if they're not scoring, then there's
Exactly.
not really many points to be had.
Yeah.
What right now, before any injuries, before anything, who would be a sleeper pick? Your number one sleeper pick or two in the back ends of the rounds where nobody's thinking about him. Who would you pick?
So my guy, I think it's pretty obvious and a pretty home run selection if you can get this guy in a later round is James Washington from the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now that AB and Le'Veon are gone, James Washington even kind of came on at the end of last year. It's going to be him and Juju is going to get most of the attention. I think that's pretty obvious. And so I think that'll free James Washington up for a lot of one-on-one matchups on the outside. And he's a big deep threat. I watched a couple of his games in college and even last year, and he's a big deep threat. He can burn you deep, but he's also really good at running short and intermediate routes too. I think he will get a lot of targets with Juju getting most of the attention. And right now he's ranked 105th in the ESPN rankings.
My sleeper pick is going to be Robbie Anderson out of the New York Jets.
Rob
Dog Anderson. I think that he's going to have a great year, and I think people are going to overlook him. Not in our league.
Not in our league. Everybody knows about Robbie in our league. He's one of the hottest trade commodities come second half of the fantasy season. Everybody wants Rob Dog on the squad.
But if you're in another league, I think he'll be a big sleeper pick.
Yeah.
What rookie is going to be the best in terms of fantasy production this year, do you think?
I think for me, rookies are never a sure bet when it comes to fantasy. It's always just kind of here or there. But especially if you have like a dynasty league or something like that, rookies could be a big deal in your league. But I got David Montgomery out of Iowa State, and he's on the Bears right now. He's a bigger between the tackles runner, which I think bodes well for him in fantasy production because the other running back on the team is Tariq Cohen now that they got rid of Jordan Howard. So I think David Montgomery will be getting a lot of goal line carries, which can get you some good points in fantasy. And then he's also a better option whenever the Bears are going to try to melt down the clock late in games and run between the tackles. I think he'll rack up a lot of yards.
I agree. I think that's a great rookie pick. You're not right very often, but when you are, I'll admit it.
Okay, good.
My breakout rookie pick will be Kyler Murray out of Oklahoma.
How is that even a breakout? He's the number one overall pick in the draft.
Because he's a college quarterback that hasn't played in the NFL. You know who else is number one pick?
Who?
Sam
Bake
Bradford.
Show.
Yeah.
Bake Show is the number one overall pick, and he was unreal. He was on my fantasy team from day one. I drafted him in like the 8th round or something, way too high. And it worked out because he balled out second half of the year.
Kyler Murray is very small.
Very small.
He is an interesting number one pick in my opinion.
He is.
But at the same time,
especially after Josh Rosen last year.
Even if I don't think he's going to be great, I think he's going to be a high value in terms of fantasy production. So
I can agree with that. And also one more guy that I have rookie is Riley Ridley out of Georgia, who I think is going to be a good third option behind Taylor Gabriel and Allen Robinson on the Bears as well. I think he's a good deep threat, and if you do have a dynasty league, I think that he'll emerge as a number one target here soon, and he'll kind of grow along with Mitch Trubisky and in that offense with Matt Nagy.
All right, with nothing else to do, we're going to get to our overreactions of the week.
Favorite part of the show.
Stay tuned.
Are you crazy? Are you out of your mind?
Okay, so we got our overreactions of the week.
Yep.
Tuck, you're up.
All right, so my overreaction of the week is that I think after this Twins-Yankees series, the Twins management is going to panic and overreact, and they're going to end up trading away either Kirilloff or Lewis for a rental player, whether it be a starting pitcher or a bullpen arm. I think they're going to overreact, and they're going to panic, and they're going to end up trading one of our top two guys.
My overreaction also involves the Twins. I think that after this series, it's going to lead to the Twins playing the Yankees in the playoffs. and it's going to set the record for the most runs scored in a playoff series, and the Twins are going to lose, and it's not going to be close.
And it's not good. Yeah, I don't see the Twins pulling it out against the Yankees in a 5-game series, especially if we mess up the trade deadline.
I hate the Yankees.
I hate the Yankees. I hate the Yankees and the Packers. That's one thing you will learn very quickly about this podcast. We both agree on one thing at least, and that is the hatred for the Yankees and the Packers.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to go subscribe over at Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Game7Podcast_. This is the Game 7 Podcast.